Let's talk MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe, which at the time of this recording has produced and released 24 groundbreaking films and is the highest grossing film franchise of all time, having grossed $22.9 billion at the global box office. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has received on average 64 nominations and awards per movie. This is impressive, and there are so many interesting things here I think entrepreneurs should pay careful attention to if we want to build blockbuster businesses worthy of the big screens. The first lesson is build for scale. Building for scale requires building well-refined business models, building business models that can scale, and building business models that are adaptable. The major mistakes I see entrepreneurs make all the time is waiting too long before going to market with too many things at once, and going to market without exploring what already exists and where similar offerings are doing well. Scalable business models are ones that are refined by the marketplace. In other words, as opposed to trying to come to market with near perfect offerings, entrepreneurs who scale come to market with minimum viable products and use real-time feedback from prospective customers on how to refine the offering. The other thing that needs to be established from the onset is that the growth numbers should always be more important than our preferences. I see too many startup entrepreneurs trying to force fit their preferences into their business models. To scale, it is important to put our own subjective opinions aside and be obsessive about making customer data-driven decisions. Once the marketplace has verified what works, then businesses that scale successfully build on that business model. If there is one thing MCU has done exceptionally well from the very beginning, is build for scale. The key driver in creating movies that have amassed a cult following all over the world is how they have developed a diversity in characters representative of a global audience. Whether it's seeing yourself through the demographics of the people of Wakanda, or the psychographics of a complex Tony Stark riddled with father issues, the storytelling is both inspiring in its imagination and captivating in its relatability. In the beginning, the process of entrepreneurship is messy and unstructured, as you are swinging trying to create compelling propositions and often missing. In the book, Great by Choice, the author Jim Collins writes about firing bullets, then cannonballs. First, you fire bullets, which refers to taking low-cost, low-risk, low-distraction experiments where you're trying to figure out what works, calibrating your efforts with each shot. Once your bullets connect and you have empirical validation of a proposition people are willing to support and pay you for, then you fire cannonballs. Cannonballs are the concentration of resources into big bets. The 2019 Marvel sensation Avengers Endgame is one of the highest grossing movies of all time, making a remarkable $2.8 billion at the box office. But this movie wasn't an instant overnight hit, but grew to global scalability through a firing of many bullets, carefully honing in and giving more prominence to the characters that work to fire the ultimate cannonball through the culmination of having reached global appeal and a validated track record. Thabo explains this aptly in the Boston Globe about Black Panther, where he says, "The movie doesn't reinvent the superhero genre so much as reclaim and re-energize it. Re-energize archetypes, cliches and all, for viewers hungry to dream in their own skin." The film doesn't feel like the usual corporate franchise contact high, but rather the work of a singular sensibility. Successful entrepreneurship at the heights the MCU has reached requires a conscious acknowledgement of the demographics and psychographics of audiences and the creation of immersive product experiences. The second lesson is find the balance between continuity and renewal. One of my biggest struggles has been disciplining my scattered brain to not run in too many different directions, trying to chase the next big thing or the next groundbreaking idea. What makes the struggle increasingly difficult is my insatiable hunger for learning and how I want to immediately put into action everything I learn. Add to that an internet filled with never-ending tutorials around people making a killing of things like non-fungible tokens, special purpose acquisition companies, Amazon aggregators, or whatever is the flavor of the month. And it's no surprise why we struggle to focus. One thing that has helped me over the years is to find a common thread that ties all the things I'm interested in. My common thread is entrepreneurship and content creation. If I'm to innovate into new spaces and try new things, then whatever it is, it needs to be edifying to me as an entrepreneur or add value to other entrepreneurs while simultaneously enabling me to create content around the insights I get from it. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has perfected this down to a science. If you follow the history of Marvel since the timely comics days of the late 1930s, through to the commissioning of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby in the early 1960s, the focus of storytelling through superheroes has always been an unrelenting focus. Marvel strikes the perfect balance between continuity and renewal by leveraging a core stable of superhero characters and iterating to stay relevant to socio-economic, geopolitical, geographic, and even technological changes. Walking the tightrope of innovations to keep people excited and having enough familiarity to keep loyal enthusiasts entertained is what has enabled MCU to retain customers while exponentially attracting more. The people you choose to work with make a big difference in enabling you to have the duality of a disciplined entrepreneurial focus while keeping a malleable perspective when it comes to new ideas crucial for adaptability. The MCU has a genius approach of infusing renewal into their films with deep heritage through a selection of experienced, inexperienced directors. Directors like Jon Favreau, James Gunn, Taika Waititi, and Ryan Coogler, for example, bring fresh views and perspectives through daring violations of previous Marvel recipes within parameters of what audience know and love. This ensures that the audience is always surprised in a fun and acceptable manner. When building teams, most of the time we tend to lean into and favor people who are most like us, as we'd like to confirm strongly held biases, which then tends to restrict innovations and make us less adaptable to change and renewal. An important skill of entrepreneurship is not only networking, but more importantly, being able to build networks of different people with a diverse set of skills, experiences, and perspectives. The third lesson is be resourceful. Entrepreneurship is more about resourcefulness than it is about resources. Resources are important, and we all need resources to start and build businesses. But the ultimate determining factor of success is what you can do with those resources. Great movies don't always have big budgets. In fact, most of the breakout film successes of our time came from movies with considerably low budgets, which forced the directors to be a lot more resourceful with how these films were scripted, shot, directed, and edited. Most of the directors selected by Marvel came from the indie scene, where they were used to working with tight budgets. These indie directors' pre-MCU budgets were on average 1/7 of their MCU budgets. Understanding the core elements of what makes great movies allows directors to not use budgets as a crutch, but rather as fuel to explode a well-crafted plot idea and movie. Effective asset utilization requires a deep understanding of the asset itself. and the most optimal utilization of the asset. Marvel's core assets are the characters it has developed and the stories it has continued to conceptualize to develop these characters. The initial investment into comic books served the purpose of distributing these characters and their stories to the audiences which they seek to serve. Distribution channels within the media space then became the next logical assets that Marvel needed to understand and invest in to continue exponentially growing their enterprise. For entrepreneurs to achieve the greatest return on investments made in assets, it is important to understand the multiple utilities that the assets have, and then try to exploit as many of the use cases as much as possible. If you look at the success of the South African Batu and Drip shoe brands, you will discover that the scaling of their operations is largely driven by the distribution of their sneaker range through physical stores. These physical stores are predominantly in areas with high foot shopping traffic like malls that have well-established anchor tenants. The distribution of their shoes through physical stores has done three main things for the brands. One, the physical stores create a signaling effect. The stores signal credibility and reliability. Each location points to the success of the brand, and shopper psychology is wired in a way that makes us want to be a part of a winning story. Two, the physical stores become a channel or billboard that the brand can use to communicate and reinforce their brand attributes and value proposition. And three, the physical stores allows for the potential shoppers to have the product in their hands, which is the most powerful driver of conversion in any sales strategy. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has been able to garner great success because they have taken distribution assets like cinema, streaming platforms, and the internet and sought to be extremely resourceful with these assets. This resourcefulness and maximum asset utilization has also served the duality of creating increased brand awareness opportunities and alternative revenue streams for MCU through the deployment of multiple social media trailers, licensing superhero assets for wearable memorabilia, and creating and curating a culture of limited collectibles. The fourth lesson is leverage your strengths, which is all about understanding your hero products and leaning into your innate or developed capabilities. There is a philosophy I love in change management called appreciative inquiry. I bring up change management because it is often an overlooked yet incredibly crucial element required in becoming a successful entrepreneur. Change is uncomfortable and very scary, but great entrepreneurs who build scalable brands lean into that fear and discomfort because they understand that the opportunities are in the market moves and changes. But they do so with an unshakable self-awareness of their strengths that have enabled them to build a community of loyal followers. One of the business advices that I absolutely hate, which is often given to young entrepreneurship hopefuls, is to look for a problem to solve. I hate this advice for two reasons. One, if it were as easy as finding problems to solve, then there would be a lot more hyper-successful entrepreneurs in the world because problems are everywhere, especially in a developing economy like South Africa. The trick is not finding a problem to solve, but understanding which space makes the most sense for you to deploy the strengths and capabilities you have developed in and around you. The second issue with this advice is that it develops an unhealthy lens internally within your company or startup where the organization gets viewed as a set of problems that need to be solved, and this is very demoralizing. Appreciative inquiry is about viewing an organization as a set of strengths that need to be maximized, which brings in a clarity of focus around where and how resources need to be deployed. In its universe, Marvel has a set of core movies where it experiments significantly less than it does with other movies. In the business world, we speak about hero products, what Tiki Taka is to Barcelona Football Club, what Big Mac is to McDonald's, or what the iPhone is to Apple. These big, stalwarts and iconic brands understand that the goal is not just to scale, but to scale sustainably. This is why, as much as they innovate and try different things, they always lead with the core, where the changes are done modestly and incrementally. If there is a business that understands hero products better than anyone else, it is Marvel, who has used their core set of successful hero brands and storylines to keep a strong hold on their community and use that strength to lead changes in other media channels, movie extensions, and business verticals. This means sticking it out even when the going gets tough. Which brings me to my fifth and final lesson, which is learning from real and imagined failures. Everyone loves a good comeback story. In 1996, Marvel filed for bankruptcy. A lot of people struggle to reconcile with how Marvel can make money with its collection of peculiar characters and strange costumes. But when you've been writing about superheroes who dig deep when the going gets tough to rise up and save the day, then sooner or later, you learn how to steal a page out of your own comic books. What makes entrepreneurship such a peculiar endeavor is the interesting relationship successful entrepreneurs have with failure. See, here's the thing. In taking a swing at bringing something new into the universe to save the day, you are going to fail. Failure is embarrassing, it is painful, but it is inevitable. The pain we suffer in our losses is the same pain that makes us stronger and makes us grow to become even better entrepreneurs. There are many factors that almost destroyed Marvel. Just like there are many factors that will bring you to your knees in the course of your entrepreneurship journey. The superpower of entrepreneurship is taking the lesson from failure and using these to fight back even harder. I have a feeling a lot of the superhero stories Marvel was documenting started out as a selfish desire to create inspirational manuscripts for the founding entrepreneurs. I think innately in all entrepreneurs, we have a superhero we believe lives inside of us, that we try and bring to life through the products and services we sell and businesses we build brands around. So rest assured that when you stand up to be seen, you will get tested. And when you get tested, you just have to build the resolve to stomach the many setbacks needed to make your movie worthy of the big screens. Thank you for watching. Keep fighting the good fight, keep creating, and like the sun, keep rising.